Internal Audiovisual Archive of Registry Documents. Document being archived AHH55. The Rebar Puppeteer. Archivist Lawrence Lyer, Reevaluation Department. Location Western Europe, usually in northern France and the Benelux region. Status active. Description and behavior. The Rebar Puppeteer is an anomalous entity made of heavily corroded rebar twisted into a human-like shape. It is capable of adjusting its shape to change its perceived height and build, so it can vary wildly. Based on our measurements, the Puppeteer weighs about 350 pounds, 158.8 kilograms. This entity is fundamentally predatory and parasitic in nature. It prefers not to move when being directly observed, though it can still move, as one of our researchers learned. Generally, the pattern of predation the Rebar Puppeteer prefers is to stealthily follow a person until it locates their personal residence, stopping in place when observed. Most people dismiss this entity as a mere art piece when it is stationary. When the entity locates the home of the intended victim, they will break in and attempt to pin them down. After this, the Rebar Puppeteer will puncture the skin and force the entirety of itself inside, digging out muscle and organs as necessary to make room and twisting its rebar around bones. This allows the puppeteer to manipulate the body of the victim in an attempt to blend into society until it rots. The body is then disposed and the entity starts searching for a new victim. Previously, it was believed that the Rebar Puppeteer killed the persons it inserted itself into. We now know this to be incorrect, as when we temporarily captured the entity for analysis, it unfortunately managed to insert into one of our researchers as part of an attempted escape. Its attempt failed when the researcher was able to communicate despite his situation. The following is a relevant segment of a transcript of an interview conducted following recapture. The researcher's name has been redacted at the request of his widow. Dr. Stevens: how were you able to talk to us? How are you not dead? Doctor: it needs brain me for it to work. Dr. Stevens: for what to work? Doctor: disguise as in me. It's wedged in there. Needs brain active. Keeps brain active to get info. So I'm still here. I can get words out. It does not know language. It is trying to automate me my responses convincingly. It's figuring out how. As can be seen by this section of the transcript, the entity seems to keep the victim's brain active so that it can be used to convincingly pretend to be the victim. Whether there is any sort of end goal to these disguises is not known. We have since lost track of the Rebar Puppeteer after returning it to its habitat. Recommended actions. In the event of encountering the Rebar Puppeteer, the recommendation is to use a vehicle to vacate the area and contact the authorities to properly deal with it. This entity is surprisingly strong and agile with a lot of mass, so attempting to fight it will not work. Attempting to stare at it to make sure it won't move will only eventually clue it into the fact that you are aware that it's not an art piece, and it will attack. You have to get the authorities to capture and relocate the entity away from population centers, as all attempts to destroy it have failed. End archive.